There's nothing colder than your shoulder when you're dragging me along like you do, like you do. And then you switch up with no warning, and you kiss me like you want it. How rude, how rude. But I kinda like it anyways. I don't mind if this is gonna take a million days. I know you'll come around to me eventually. If you sit back, relax, enjoy my company, my company. Once you know what my love's gonna feel like, nothing else will feel right. You can feel like moonbeam you've been talking in your sleep. Oh, oh, things you never say to me. Oh, oh, tell me that you've had enough of our love, our love. Just give me a reason, just a little bit's enough. Just a second, we're not broken, just bent, and we can learn to love again. It's in the stars, it's been written in the scars on our hearts. We're not broken, just bent, and we can learn to love again. I'm sorry, I don't understand where all of this is coming from. I thought that we were fine. Oh, we had everything. Your head is running wild again. My dear, we still have everything. And it's all in your mind. Yeah, but this is happening. You've been having real bad dreams. Oh, oh, you used to lie so close to me. Oh, oh, there's nothing more than empty sheets between our love, our love. Oh, our love, our love. Just give me a reason, just a little bit's enough. Just a second, we're not broken, just bent, and we can learn to love again. I never stop, you're still written in the stars of my heart. You're not broken, just bent, and we can learn to love again. I'm tear ducts and rocks, I fix it for us. We're collecting dust, but our love's enough. Yeah, I'll lead you. You're pouring in rain. Nothing is as bad as it seems. We'll come clean. Just give me a reason, just a little bit's enough. Just a second, we're not broken, just bent, and we can learn to love again. It's in the stars, it's been written in the scars on our hearts that we're not broken, just bent. Can learn to love again. Just give me a reason, just a little bit's enough. Just a second, we're not broken, just bent, and we can learn to love again.
Good morning. My name is Jackie Arthur, pronounced she and her, and I will be your worship associate this morning. We are delighted that you are with us today. Happy Father's Day! Whether online or in person, it's great to be with you. No matter how you look or who you love, we're glad you're here. Even if you think the UU gets too political at times, we appreciate you. We have an abundance of love and compassion here. We're happy to share that with you. This morning, we will be hearing a sermon purchased in our annual auction. This was purchased by Leo Gregory. Leo, are you here? Yay, there's Leo, yay, Leo. David will be discussing how Unitarians and Universalists have participated in protests and demonstrations over the years. This is part of our 70th anniversary celebration. I hope you will join in the conversation. As David lights our chalice, listen to these words written by Thomas Jefferson in Paris while reflecting on Shays' rebellion and the importance of citizens remaining vigilant against government overreach. The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. It is its natural manure. As a reminder, you can come to our Joys and Concerns table to my right, over there, and light a candle or drop a pebble in a bowl as a token of what you're holding in your heart at any time in the service. Catherine and the band are going to come and sing our opening song, Beginning to Feel the Years. Thanks for coming.
You carry me along with you. You keep my spirit strong, you do. Maybe I was meant to be under your lock and key. The hard times that I had really don't seem all that bad. Yesterday is long ago and far away. I'm beginning to feel the years, but I'm going to be okay as long as you're beside me along the way. Gonna make it through the night and into morning light. There are things I said before, I don't mean them anymore. Yesterday is long ago and far away. I'm beginning to feel the years, but I'm going to be okay as long as you're beside me along the way. Gonna make it through the night and into morning light. With angels by our side and the spirits there to guide, I'm beginning to feel the years, but I'm going to be okay as long as you're beside me along the way. Gonna make it through the night and into morning light. If you're able to stand, please join us for our sing-along. We are family. We are family. I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing.
I won't be performing the entire play. You'll be glad to know. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with Greek playwrights, Aristophanes is a well-known one, and in his play, Lysistrata, which was written during the Peloponnesian War, the women of Greece are exhausted by years of bloodshed that they themselves did not choose, but must endure. Lysistrata, an Athenian woman, gathers women from Athens and Sparta and proposes a shocking tactic. They will withhold sex from their husbands until the men agree to negotiate peace. At the same time, the older women seize the Acropolis and its treasury, cutting off the money that funds the war. The men respond with ridicule and anger and attempts to force the women back into obedience, but the women hold firm, using humor, solidarity, and strategic non-cooperation as their tools. As sexual frustration and war weariness grow, envoys from both sides finally come together to negotiate, and Lysistrata reminds them of their shared kinship and common good beyond factional loyalty. The play ends in reconciliation, a feast, and dancing, an outrageous body comedy that nevertheless insists ordinary, disenfranchised people can resist unjust policies and call a whole society back to peace.
Our Share the Plate offering this month is going to Stafford Junction. That's right. Stafford Junction is dedicated to supporting children and families in Stafford County who face the challenges of poverty. Here to talk to us today from Stafford Junction is Erica Boulette. Erica is the Office of Grants Manager for Stafford Junction. Erica's journey started in Pisa, Italy, where she was born into a military family. Growing up as a military brat meant moving every few years, but those experiences shaped her for community and connection. Her passion for helping others began during her Peace Corps service in Armenia, 2007 to 2009. That spirit of service didn't stop there. Erica joined Rotary International in 2012 and has been an active member ever since, and currently serving the Global Peace Builders Rotary. In 2013, she returned to the Peace Corps virtually, training as an NGO in Liberia on grant writing and compliance, a partnership she still supports today as an advisor. Erica holds a bachelor's degree in political science from Virginia Commonwealth University and a master's in global affairs from George Mason University. She's passionate about building bridges, whether across cultures or communities, and loves using her skills to make a difference. Help me welcome Erica to our stage. Thank you.
Hello, thank you. Hello, everyone. So weird to hear about yourself in the third person. I'm so sorry I'm late. I had trouble finding you guys, and I left late, honestly, so sorry. Now I know where you are. So yes, America, representing Stafford Junction today, and I realize you all are supporting us through your Share the Plate fundraiser, and thank you so much. And being the grant writer, you think I would have this presentation memorized because I write about it all the time, but the truth is about grant writing is you paste together things to make it make sense. So sorry, I brought some cheat sheets. So I'll talk a little bit about who Stafford Junction is, who we serve, what we do, and what you all can do. So we are a faith-based organization. Through Faith in Action, we help the community. We help people who are below 200% below the poverty line. And we have values of caring, honesty, respect, and responsibility when we work with our constituents. And when you think about 200% below the poverty level, that can be hard to imagine. And it brings, my voice is cracking because I'm just thinking about the people who we serve. And we also work with schools, neighborhoods. We have 7 neighborhoods in Stafford, 2 in North Stafford and the others in South Stafford, or the Fredericksburg area. I've only been here 2 years, so for me, thinking between what is Fredericksburg and what is Stafford can be confusing. So we serve Stafford, but Stafford Junction's physical address is in Fredericksburg, so it's a little confusing. And so we have identified our communities by those who are at risk of food insecurity, generational poverty, and elevated crime rates. And the elevated crime rates is part of why Stafford Junction was created in 2005, because the sheriff's office identified a reason for a community-based program to keep the kids busy, honestly. If the kids are doing something positive for themselves and their family and the community, they're not getting in trouble, hopefully. We also work, a lot of our constituents, our community members are non-native English speakers. So that is something to consider, that there's a language barrier also. And through the programs that we have the Brain Builders program, where it's an after-school program that we have in Title I schools, where all of the people who we serve are in free or reduced lunches. And this is an opportunity for them to have homework help, maybe specialized help if they need help with math or English, just really whatever they need. We do have programs specialized for the elementary school kids, and for the middle school kids, it really is mostly homework help, and missing assignments also. So we try to instill socio-emotional well-being and working with others, taking personal responsibility. If you miss an assignment, we need to try to work to get it in, and we always provide food. Any event that we have, we provide a snack or a meal, and that is because we don't know when the family or the student has had their last meal. And oftentimes in school is when the only opportunity where the kids do receive a meal. So we make sure before we start any tutoring session, we give them a snack and a drink, usually Capri Sun. And these kids are wonderful. Our other program is the Healthy Living Pays program. And this connects people with health screenings, field trips, membership at the YMCA down the street to help them focus on physical health and taking care of themselves. And we have family memberships. Also within this program, there is Art Cart Kids program for students to expose them to the arts. Downtown Greens partnership, where they can work with plants and horticulture and learn how to grow food. Where does food come from? What is the importance of knowing where it comes from? The Greater Falls Run School, the table at St. George's, we receive food, fresh produce donations every first and third Wednesday, and we deliver them those first and third Wednesdays to our neighborhoods and more. And then Virginia Community Food Connection, that is, I'm not really sure how often they come, but they come several times a month to also deliver food. And that food usually stays in our building. So we have some food that stays in the building and other food that we take out. We try to take out as much as we can to the neighborhoods, but not all. We're not able to do that all the time. And we reach our neighborhoods about once a quarter. So while we go every first and third Wednesday, we go to different neighborhoods, and it averages about once a quarter for each. And our other program is Life Skills. So I had the pleasure of being there for our ESL class in the spring, and that was really exciting, meeting these people who are learning English as their second language, and that is one of the Life Skills programs. We are getting back to, we've kind of lost it since COVID happened, and We were short-staffed for a while, so we're getting back to having our financial literacy classes, our GED classes, resume writing workshops, those sort of things. We partner with the Rappahannock Area Adult Regional Education, it's RARE. Maybe you all are familiar with them. They do wonderful work, and yes, I see some nods, okay. So they teach our students, and they always show up with smiles on their faces. It's a wonderful partnership, and we're so glad to have them. And so that is our life skills. And finally, Summer Junction summer camps, which we are in the midst of. We just finished our STEAM camp. For those of you who don't know, STEAM is science, technology, education, arts, and mathematics. And we add the arts from STEM. And that is geared towards middle school students and high school students. And then we just wrapped up last week the Stafford County Sheriff's Department sponsored sports camp, where they do football, soccer, baseball, and a field day the last day. So that's pretty cool. Get them physically active, get them out there. And then we are gearing up for Camp Junction, our 5-week class for the little kids, K through 5. We break it up. Some kids on Monday, Wednesdays, other grades on Tuesday, Thursdays. We are closed on Fridays. So a lot of our work is most of our work is Monday through Thursday. And that's to prevent summer learning loss and keep them active, out of trouble again. Here's the theme here. Keep the kids busy, keep them fed. And different services that we provide are referrals. So if we see someone who needs assistance or a family, we tell them where we think they could go to get help. This may include legal aid, medical clinics. We do have a grant that we won through Mary Washington Partnerships, and part of our agreement through that grant is having regular health checkups, having them come visit us and do checkups, and we refer them back to the dentist, the doctors there, to see if there's anything more serious. And we never ask any questions. So if they say they need help, we refer them. We don't check anything. Also, our Tide Me Over bags. So we do have a food pantry where we store our dry goods. And we take some of our food with us on our neighborhood deliveries. Am I running out of time? Okay. All right. Tide Me Over bags, food pantry. So that is year-round. Again, we don't ask any questions about that. You come and get food anytime. We bring it to you. You come and get it. It's all good. School supplies. We do have a school supply running, and students are allowed to have supplies at any time during the year if they run out. We also holiday giving. So it's crazy bananas in the office during the holidays with presents and with food bags. And it's just a generous spirit with the people who sponsor our children and the families with their gifts that they want. And what you all can do. So volunteer.
Can we have them just talk to you afterwards?
Sure.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
All right. Our ushers are coming. Everything that you put in this basket goes to Stafford Junction. As you can see, they're doing awesome, awesome work. We give to them every year. So I encourage you to be very generous. Catherine's going to come and sing now for us while we take the offering.
There's too many of you the answer, for only love can conquer hate. You know we've got to find a way to bring some love in here today. Oh, picket lines and picket signs punish me with brutality. Talk to me so you can see, oh, what's going on? What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? What's going on? Mother, mother, everybody thinks we're wrong. Oh, but who are they to judge us? Simply 'cause our hair is long. Oh, we've got to find a way to some understanding here today. Picket lines and picket signs don't punish me with brutality. Talk to me so you can see, oh, what's going on? What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? What's going on?
We now have RE, and they're going to be learning very much about the Unitarian background as we are today. All youth, please go forward, follow this woman, and you'll have a new experience. More the youth. Thank you.
Good morning. Happy Father's Day. Unitarian Universalists like to say that we're a people who show up. We show up with candles and casseroles when someone is hurting. We show up with posters and petitions when neighbors are under attack. We show up with our bodies when the moral arc of the universe needs a little extra push. And this morning I want to trace a thread through time, the history of protest and civil disobedience in our tradition, from our religious ancestors to today's UUA. And even for humor and perspective, a detour back to ancient Athens and the comic protest of Aristophanes' play, Lysistrata. My hope is not just to rehearse old stories, but to ask what kind of people we are called to be today, in our own moment, and how that connects us to our fellowship's decision to help making our local immigrant community our priority this year. Before we get to Boston and Birmingham, let's start back at Athens. Around 411 BCE, in the middle of the long Peloponnesian War between Athens and Sparta, the comic playwright Aristophanes staged Lysistrata. In it, the women of the warring cities hatch a bold plan. They're going to withhold sex from their husbands until the men agree to end the war. They seize the Acropolis, the symbolic heart of political and religious life, also to cut off the war's funding. In its first and foremost, it's a comedy. It's full of lewd jokes, exaggerated characters, and increasingly desperate husbands shuffling around in short tunics with very visible signs of frustration. It sounds like a play we should do here. The women are resolute. The men are ridiculous. And eventually, at least on the stage, the war ends and peace is declared with much rejoicing and with more than a little innuendo. On one level, Lysistrata is fantasy. You know, the women of Athens had no real public power. Their sex strike is an impossible solution to an actual tragedy. Peace in the actual war did not come from a women's movement. It came later, after way more catastrophe. But Aristophanes is doing something important. He's using humor to stage a protest against a war and against leaders who refuse to end that war. Like many modern protests, Lysistrata mixes moral outrage with creativity. It asks, what if we look what the world assumes is weak, like women, domestic life, sexuality, and turn it into a tool for peace? What if we occupied the very center of power and refused to cooperate with the machinery of war? Well, centuries later, people revived Lysistrata as a form of anti-war protest. In March 3 of 2003, as the United States prepared for war in Iraq, actors and activists staged readings of Lysistrata in over 1,000 venues in 58 countries as a coordinated peace action. The play became a vehicle for resistance once again. A reminder that sometimes the most subversive thing we can do is laugh loudly, publicly, at the absurdity of violence. So keep Lysistrata in the back of your mind as we move forward. She reminds us that protest is not just about anger. It's also about creativity and imagination, and sometimes an irreverent sense of humor. Our Unitarian and Universalist ancestors didn't have the UUA yet. That comes in 1961. But they did have strong opinions, a taste for moral argument, and a growing conviction that faith must show up in public life. In the 19th century, both Unitarians and Universalists were pulled into the great reform movements of their day: abolition of slavery, prison reform, women's rights, peace. Universalists, preaching that a loving God would condemn no one to hell, began to ask how such a God could endorse slavery. In 1843, the National Universalist Convention, meeting in Akron, Ohio, passed an anti-slavery resolution with only one dissenting vote, declaring slavery incompatible with Universalist faith. Now, Unitarians were a little more divided. Like Lydia Maria Child, she was a fiery abolitionist, arguing for immediate emancipation. But others in the Unitarian group opposed slavery in principle, but hesitated to support anything radical, political. In some Unitarian congregations, you could find pro and anti-abolition members sitting in the same chairs. Now, this tension is important. From the beginning, our tradition has been a mix of prophetic protest and anxious moderation. Some of our people are out organizing, publishing, risking everything, standing up against the system. Others worried about going too far. That pattern is still repeating itself today, right here in our fellowship. We also see early experiments in what we would now call civil disobedience. Some Universalists organized against capital punishment, urging governors to commute death sentences, calling for systemic prison reform. To stand against execution in the 19th century was to defy both law and the common opinion. Universalists did so explicitly as a matter of faith. Our ancestors didn't always get it right, and they were certainly not united all the time, but they were developing a habit to take an unpopular position when conscience demands it, and to frame protest not only as political, but as a religious obligation. Fast forward to 1961, the American Unitarian Association and the Universalist Church of America merged to form the UUA. The new UUA inherits a legacy of reform and also of internal fighting. There were two largely white middle-class denominations suddenly living in the age of lunch counters and freedom rides. 2 years after the merger, 1963, the UUA formed the Commission on Religion and Race. At the first meeting, the commission voted unanimously to support the March to Washington for Jobs and Freedom and used UU offices to mobilize volunteers. About 1,600 UUs attended that march, including Dana Greeley, the first president of the UUA. This is our people showing up, traveling by bus and car, clergy, lay people, to stand on the Mall in Washington and hear Dr. King speak of a dream. Protest becomes pilgrimage, civil disobedience, a spiritual practice. Now, 2 years later, 1965, that practice became far more costly. In Selma, Alabama, local Baptist leaders and civil rights organizations were organizing for voting rights. And on Bloody Sunday, peaceful marchers attempted to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and they were brutally attacked by state troopers and deputies with clubs and tear gas. The televised violence shocked the nation and galvanized the UUA. Dr. King sent out a call to clergy to come to Selma. Among those who responded were UU ministers and lay people, some of whom left for Alabama within hours. 3 UU ministers, James Reeb, Orloff Miller, and Clark Olson, arrived in Selma on March the 9th. And that night, after joining protests, they were attacked by segregationists. James Reeb was beaten severely and died 2 days later from his injuries. Reeb's murder provoked national outrage and drew more attention to Selma. The UUA Board of Trustees, meeting in Boston, adjourned and reconvened in Selma, joining a second wave of UUs who traveled there to march and bear public witness. Now, when Dr. King finally led the marchers from Selma to Montgomery later in March, UUs were among those present, and the broader movement helped push forward the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Selma became one of our defining stories. It showed UUs risking their bodies and their lives alongside black leaders in a struggle for democratic rights. It also revealed racial and class differences within our own ranks. Who could travel? Who felt safe? Who had something to lose? And like many protests, it was both a moment of courage and a mirror held up to our limitations. You know, it's tempting to end the story there with a triumphant march and a law's passed, but protests don't only happen out there in the wider society. Sometimes the most painful and transformative protests happen right here in our own house. After Selma, Black Unitarian Universalists and their allies pressed the UUA to move beyond symbolic support and toward real institutional change and empowerment. From 67 into the early 70s, Black UUs organized and pushed the denomination to commit resources and authority to Black-led ministries and community projects. This period, often called the Black Empowerment Controversy, included intense debates, walkouts, bitter disagreements over funding and control. At General Assembly, Black UUs and their supporters engaged in protest actions, including leaving plenary sessions to demand that their voices be heard and their communities supported. These internal protests were a kind of spiritual civil disobedience. Black UUs refused to coordinate with business as usual in a liberal denomination that often spoke eloquently about justice, but struggled to embody it. They insisted that racism was not just out there in Selma or Birmingham, but woven into the practices and the budgets and the leadership structures of the UUA. Now, looking back, we can see both damage and growth. Relationships were broken. People left the UUA. Some promises were unfulfilled. Yet the controversy forced our association to grapple with white supremacy, representation, and the meaning of solidarity. It reminds us that protest is not just about what we do in the streets, it's also sometimes what we do in our boardroom, and our general assemblies, and our annual meetings. As the decades passed, UU activism continued and diversified. UUs became visibly involved in movements for women's rights, LGBTQ+ equality, environmental justice, nuclear disarmament, and more. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, the UUA and many congregations adopted the phrase, standing on the side of love, to frame public witness. This language arose in the context of opposing anti-immigrant and anti-LGBTQ+ measures, and named something essential about how UUs understood protest, not as hatred of opponents, but as love in action for the most vulnerable. UU showed up at pride marches, immigrant rallies, anti-war vigils, climate demonstrations, Often behind UU banners or in congregational t-shirts. Ministers in stoles and lay people with chalice signs became visual shorthand. The UUs are here. Civil disobedience continued, with UU clergy and laity risking arrest in actions against deportations, pipelines, and discriminatory laws. At the same time, the association continued to wrestle internally with race and power. Recent years have seen debates and protests around hiring practices at the UUA, representation in leadership, and how white supremacy culture still is showing up in our institutions. Once again, UUs of color and their allies have pressed the association to live up to its values. In our 19th century ancestors, they were forming a conscience, and the Selma era UUs were learning to show up in the streets. Our movement is learning that showing up must mean listening to those within our communities who have been marginalized, and being willing to disrupt our own comfort to make space for justice. So, what are these stories, Lysistrata and ancient Athens, abolitionists, universalists, UUs in Selma, black empowerment protests, standing on the side of love? What do these stories teach us about protest and civil disobedience as a spiritual practice? Well, first, protest starts with imagination. Aristophanes imagines a world where women can end a war by banding together. Universalists imagine a God of universal love and begin to see that slavery can't coexist with that theology. UUs at Selma imagine a United States where black citizens can vote without fear. Black UUs in the 1960s imagine a denomination where their leadership is honored and resourced. To protest is to say, I refuse to accept what is. It's not all that can be. It's to stand in line with a long tradition of sacred imagination, where prophets envision the desert blooming and swords beaten into plowshares. Second, protest requires bodies. No one in Lysistrata protested by sending a strongly worded email. They occupy the Acropolis. They shut down business as usual. The marchers at Selma walked, they stood, they knelt, they bled. Black UUs walked out of meetings and risked positions. Contemporary UUs line up at detention centers, climate protests, voting rights rallies, and immigration hearings. Civil disobedience is embodied. It's the decision to step off the sidewalk and into the street, to cross the bridge, to refuse the unjust law, to break the silence in the meeting. For religious people, that embodiment is sacramental. Our bodies become liturgical objects, carrying our convictions into public space. And third, protest reveals who we really are. During abolition, Unitarians learned who was willing to sacrifice comfort and who preferred moderation. During black empowerment struggles, white liberal goodwill sometimes faded when real power or resources were at stake. In recent controversies, we continue to see how deeply white supremacy culture shapes even progressive institutions like our own. And that's painful, but it's necessary. Without those moments of conflict, we might never see the work we still have to do. Protest is a kind of spiritual diagnostic. It shows us where our words and our lives do not match. And finally, our tradition suggests that protest must remain rooted in love. Universalists declared that God's nature is love and used that as a basis to oppose slavery and the death penalty. UUs in Selma did not march because they hated white sheriffs. They marched because they loved democracy, black neighbors, and the possibility of a beloved community. The Standing on the Side of Love campaign framed activism as an expression of love. Love for LGBTQ plus people, immigrants, those targeted by injustice. And this is not sentimental love. Love in this sense is fierce, it's demanding, sometimes requires standing in the way of tanks or ICE vans. It asks us to risk reputation, comfort, sometimes even our own lives. Love keeps protest from becoming just a performance or a vengeance. and it keeps us tethered to the humanity of those we oppose, even when we resist their actions. All right, let's circle back to Lysistrata for a moment. One thing that the play models is the power of humor in resistance. The women's sex strike is exaggerated, but the absurdity is the point. Aristophanes invites his audience to laugh at the seriousness of the men, at the pomposity of leaders who drag out war, at the ridiculousness of a society that treats women as irrelevant while depending upon them for just about everything. Humor can deflate authoritarianism. In our own UU activism, we sometimes forget that we're allowed to be playful, creative, even a little silly. A cleverly worded sign, a satirical skit, a flash mob hymn sing in a state house rotunda. These are all Lysistrata's lineage. The play also foregrounds gender. The women are practicing a kind of gendered civil disobedience. They refuse the roles assigned to them and weaponize expectations of femininity to halt the war. Our own history includes women who acted similarly, refusing to stay in this private sphere and insisting that theology, politics, and family life are all connected. Finally, Lysistrata reminds us that protest is sometimes about withdrawing cooperation. Civil disobedience is not only marching, it's also refusing. Refusing to pay unjust taxes, refusing to comply with discriminatory laws, refusing to cooperate with systems of deportation or mass incarceration. The women in the play withhold intimacy to reveal how much the men really rely on them. Modern movements organize boycotts, strikes, refusals to reveal how much unjust systems depend on the consent and the labor of the very people they exploit. Our UU values can guide us in discerning when it's time or not to show up. Maybe it's time to sit down, to opt out, to say no together in a way that exposes the injustice of a status quo. So here we are in our own fraught era. The issues shift: climate crisis, racialized violence, threats to democracy, attacks on reproductive justice and LGBTQ rights, widening inequality. But you know what? The basic question still remains. What does it mean now for Unitarian Universalists to be people of protest and civil disobedience? We can't simply copy our ancestors. Our context is different. Our movement is more diverse. The tools of both oppression and resistance have changed. But those stories of the past offer us wisdom. They suggest that we must keep listening for the call. You know, the call may come from a national figure, but it may also come from a local organizer or a neighbor whose community is under threat. In Selma, the UUs responded to a concrete invitation. Come here, we need you now. In our time, the invitations might be to show up at a school board meeting, to accompany someone to an immigration hearing, or to stand between a family and deportation. Our fellowship has just voted to make helping our local immigrant community a priority for this year. That's our concrete call. It is Selma in miniature, right here, a specific community facing specific harms, asking whether we will show up with more than just thoughts and prayers. Will we use our history of protest to support immigrant neighbors navigating this cruel and confusing system? Will we bring our bodies to rallies, our cars to give rides, our language skills to help with forums, our building to host legal clinics or community gatherings? Will we be willing, if it comes to it, to practice civil disobedience in defense of families at risk of being torn apart? Our tradition tells us that this is exactly the sort of moment when Unitarian Universalists are called to act, not because we're saviors, but because we're neighbors. Not because we have all the answers, but we're willing to stand imperfectly, persistently, on the side of love. When we tell the story of our tradition's protests and acts of civil disobedience, we're not just telling stories about them back there. We are, in a sense, reading aloud the vows that they made on our behalf, The universalists who condemned slavery and the death penalty were speaking to us across time, saying, this is who we are. You are the people who believe that no one is disposable. The UUs who went to Selma were saying, you are the people who will get us on the bus when justice calls, even when it's dangerous. The UUs who challenged the denomination were saying, you are the people who will not settle for symbolic gestures when real change is needed. The organizers who chose standing on the side of love were saying, you are the people who will let love be more than a feeling. You're going to let it move your feet. And Lysistrata, with her outrageous plan and her coalition of women, is laughing in the background, reminding us, you are also the people who use humor, creativity, solidarity in ways the powerful never see coming. The question before us is simple and hard. What vows will we make in our time for those who come after us? When they look back and tell the story of the UUs today, what will they say about us? Did we show up for immigrants in Fredericksburg? Where will they say we stood, or sat, or marched? What risks will they say we took? We don't get to write their version of the story, but we do get to decide today how we're going to live. Perhaps the most faithful thing we can do is listen for the call, gather our courage, bring our humor, our banners, and our bodies, and show up once more on the side of love, alongside our immigrant neighbors. May it be so. Thank you, Leo, for preaching this message. All right. Thoughts? Response? What do you think? Things you want to add? Lois?
Speaking of women, there's another person who went to Selma and gets mentioned far less than James Reeb. Her name is Viola Liuzzo. She attended the UU Church in Detroit. She was in Selma shuttling marchers and volunteers between Selma and Montgomery, and she was assassinated by the Ku Klux Klan while stopped at a red light.
Yeah, James up here. Somebody else?
I just thought it might be time to make a plug for the UU Hysterical Society. For any of those people that are into Facebook, they do have what I would consider irreverent humor, and but I think well worth the time if you're that type of a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just wanted to provide an update on something that was happening last year. My son and some of his friends wanted to start a gay straight alliance club at his middle school in King George, and they went through the process, got it approved locally by the principal, found a staff advisor, but the school board rejected it. And so we have been attending school board meetings twice a month, pretty much, throughout the school year, trying to get them to change their minds. And I was providing updates sort of while it was happening. And I want to thank some people from this fellowship who came and just supported us with their presence at the school board meetings. Yeah. My son, who's 14, I'm so proud of him for just standing up there and providing his voice. And also I wanted to say that our fellowship raised $472 for Stafford Junction. So thank you so much for coming today.
Awesome. All right. Any more comments or time for announcements? Karen? And Kurt?
Just that I think it's going to be helpful to a lot of us if we can get occasionally some specific guidance.
Yes.
And I guess we'll get that from the Social Justice Committee or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Speaking of which, Kurt.
Hey, Yes, there were. I just noticed there were a lot of UUs, local UUs at the No Kings, and also the Black Lives Matter. We had a lot of people show up with those.
Yeah, yeah, very good.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, very good. All right, some quick announcements. We need volunteers to bring dishes to our Trevor Project fundraiser luncheon. This is next Sunday after the service. We are raising money for the Trevor Project, which is an organization that provides relief, care, comfort, support to our LGBTQ younger folks. And so that's a very worthwhile project. We invite you to come, bring a dish, and join in the celebration. Fredericksburg Pride is next Saturday. Woo! Yeah. Yeah, there's usually several thousand people down at Riverfront Park. We have been a part of that, setting up a booth and just inviting people and talking about ourselves and how we can support and help them. So if you would like to help us with that, you can see Dawn. You can also click on, take a picture of that QR code, and you can sign up for like a 2-hour shift in the booth, or just talk to Dawn if there's something else you have in mind that you might be willing to do to help us in that. We touched a lot of lives last year. And so I encourage you, if you've got some time Saturday, to come out and help us reach out to some folks that need some care. All right, 4th of July party is coming right up. It's $10 per vehicle. We encourage you to come. We're going to have a live band. We have a food truck all lined up. It's going to be a lot of fun. The fireworks are spectacular right over here. You can sit in our parking lot and see it wonderfully. So invite you to come to that. We have a school days announcement real quick. Update.
Just want to thank you guys for bringing in a lot more stuff. So I'll be counting that, and next week I'll let you know what the numbers were. If you still want to help, Google school dressing days, and you can get to how to donate some cash so that they can do shopping to fill in the empty places where we didn't quite fill out what they needed. And also volunteer, very rewarding, just a few hours over one of 3 days, and I think you'd be glad you did if you do that. So access that through Google School Dressing Days. Thank you.
Very good. All right, Catherine, you want to talk about what's coming up here?
Hello. As you may recall, I am part of Stafford Opera Troupe, which is a local organization that puts on opera. And last summer we did the Pirates of Penzance. I think some of you attended that. This year we are currently working on the Magic Flute. And if you don't know, that's the one with the Queen of the Night, and she goes really high. I can't do all that. If you're interested in coming to see the Magic Flute, the Queen of the Night, not played by me, please join us. That's going to be next weekend on Friday and Saturday, the 26th and 27th. And it's really coming together beautifully. The actors and performers have been working very hard. These are some professional opera singers that come in from all over the country, some cases internationally, to play these big major roles. And then the ensemble is filled out with local musicians and some high school students as well. So that's this Friday, Saturday at 7 o'clock at Stafford High School. If you are interested, it is presented in English. If you are concerned about understanding, it is in English, so should be okay with that. So hope to see you there. Thanks.
Good morning. That's a quick word. David talked about the major project we have going with Virginia Organizing. That is to advocate and help those in our community who do not have a voice. The effort is to help the immigrant community and the local area in an environment where ICE operates. So UUFF is taking on the communications part of that project, and we seek volunteers to work together on this important effort with us. I will be near the entrance for sign-ups and questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you again for coming this morning. As we gear up for summer, please remember that the needs of this fellowship continue on. I encourage you to give generously in the days ahead. Everyone, please join us, standing as you're able, and sing our closing song, We Shall Overcome.
We're going to do this one a cappella. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and we shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart, I still believe we shall come someday.